people. We've been fortunate enough to have Maria Lloyd, CEO of Management 24, for the last hour and a half. She's extended her time to help me continue the show, so I'm very thankful for you, Maria. And right before the break, I just wanted to kind of reiterate something before I let you go, because I think it was very powerful. So when you ask the question, say, hey, let's aggregate into Jackson, Mississippi, or Miami, or Detroit, it's something that if more of us would consider, as you said, to a certain extent, we're still being governed. Well, I just want you to simply put both ideas together, because, in other words, we aggregate and still make those alliances. Then that's how it becomes that much more effective, because here's a simple way of looking at it. We're competing with old money that obviously we didn't have any, we wasn't given any rights to, right, from day one. The money that was built on our back, as we always say. Well, the way to stop competing with old money is go where new money is at. And so, and the new money, believe it or not, as you said, stop saying they don't like us, because, we've done that show. You're actually doing business with people in different African nations right now. We've done the show to know that there are plenty of areas in different countries within the African continent that are very welcoming to African Americans. And real quick to speak to, as you said, I do say that comparing ourselves to other groups is a false equivalent. I will go that far, but it still doesn't. It does still speaks to there's still good things we can take that they are doing that we too should be doing, and so it doesn't take away from that. In a sense that because like you said, since they already have those ties and we don't, then the idea should be, well, let's get those ties. Because we see how it benefits that community. So, we can't compare ourselves to that community because we don't have those ties. But there's no reason we shouldn't listen to your call to make those ties. And like yourself, in my own study and research, self-study and researching of these different leaders, as you said, well, when you made these ideas, let's come together in this one space. The reason I had you on the show for Can't We Do Business with Africa, because that's a conclusion I was coming to. So we were kind of lining up in that area. And so when you said, well, let's aggregate into bigger cities, that idea makes sense for the same reasons you're saying in researching what has been done, what has been tried. And as you said, not to call any of our previous leaders failures, you're just talking about recognizing the reality of what the country has always shown us consistently. Makes it very difficult to continue down paths that continue to lead to the same results. So when your boyfriend says, in a sense, well, what do we do? Do we give up? What I think you are effectively saying is, well, we should give up on doing the things that have led to little or no results. I think you are saying that, but it is not in our spirit, and we know that. We applaud our survival spirit, but in order to progress, we have to take some conscious steps of some of the things we've talked about earlier on this show. And the last thing I'll say to you is why mental dialogue is this. Obviously, the motto is all I ask is that you think, but I'm going for as now is the campaign to say mental dialogue is the answer. It's not to toot my own horn, but I realize, this is what I've come to realize, I've always been dealing with, in a sense, the consciousness of our community with the concept of mental dialogue. Clearly, that's the thought process. But as I further think about that thought, what's happening with any ideas, good ones or great ones like yours, these ideas, what's happening is we're kind of asking our people to take steps, but we have failed to deal with the psychology for why we don't have enough people taking those steps. So the analogy I use is almost like trying to play NBA basketball with great street players, putting together just a street team to go play against the Golden State Warriors. And so the Golden State Warriors, they're professionals. They study. They have the mindset to train on that level. Well, we're asking to play the game without stepping back to deal with the psychology of our people. So that's my big dream with mental dialogue, is to have these pockets in Jackson, Mississippi, in for example, all the cities that Dr. Claude Anderson talks about in Power and Numbers, where we're already aggregated. I want to have mental dialogue communities that are first dealing with our psychology. And so when people say, well, if all you do is sit around and talk, well, unfortunately, you can't act right if you don't think right. So we're kind of pushing for action from our people without dealing with the psychological trauma of post-traumatic slave syndrome. And so that's why I say mental dialogue is an answer. It's an idea of therapy for our people amongst ourselves to, in a sense, action will come as more people move further along consciously, if that makes sense. So just wanted to kind of hear your last.